What's up, everyone, and welcome to Clear Talk. So in this video, we are going to be talking about State of the Union. Um, and we're going to talk about that, all the stuff that happened in it. Kind of going to a breakdown, a summary, of what happened last night. So thank you very much for joining me here. If you are new to the channel, welcome to Clear Talk. If you'd like to check out more videos from the channel, please do so. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff to get more videos in front of more people. If you'd like to check out videos from my other channels, JMD Drummer there, JMDPLAY, JMD Puzzling. If you'd like what you see there, consider subscribing to those as well and do all the stuff there to help grow those channels. Patreon there, $3 a month. You can support the channel however you would like. Support any channel that you would like to support. To help grow those channels, help grow Patreon, and to help grow JMD Nation. Any contribution or support you give is very much appreciated, and I thank you very much because none of this is monetized. I'm not making any money off these videos, so the only way I can make any kind of money or income is by your support. So, and you can keep, your support will keep me going and keep this going, and that would be very much appreciated if you want to help grow the progressive voice here on YouTube and abroad. So thank you very much for joining me. If you are returning, you're freaking amazing. You're freaking amazing. Welcome back. Keep coming back because you are what makes JMD Nation. So, so if you weren't here last night, I did stream. I streamed the State of the Union. Matter of fact, I streamed the State of the Swamp as well as the State of the Union. I was going to do the People's State of the Union, but it kind of ran out of time because the Swamp, I thought that they were going to be a little bit more concise and like shorter time, but they actually ran for the Swamp ran for upwards of 2 hours, I think. The State of the Union, the People's State of the Union ran for like 2-3 hours itself. Like during the entire time, basically, of the State of the Union. So it was, where I was thinking it was more of a kind of a prequel thing to the State of the Union that wouldn't necessarily overrun the State of the Union or buff it. I guess I was wrong in that, and I mean that's fine. But we didn't really get around to covering that so much, but we did check out a lot of the Swamp, which was interesting, and it had a lot of good speakers there saying a lot of good stuff, in protest and in rebuke of the administration, and especially since we knew, and I'd already projected in video that talking about my predictions of the State of the Union, that Trump was just going to get up there and lie, which is what he does. That's his that's his MMO at this point, or MO at this point, or whatever. Like it's what he does. He lies. He says things with such confidence and spews things that's been told to him at some point in some time. He's heard something, and he takes what he's heard as the best of what he thinks he's heard, and he spits it out. Or, whatever he's told, he just spits it out, and he just regurgitates it over and over and over again, even if at one point it had some sort of semblance of, truth maybe to it, it doesn't any longer, or it's just a straight-up lie, period. And that's pretty much what it was. Outside of being giving crap tons of awards and stuff, which is I mean, does happen during States of the Unions, but not to the extent that it did last night. They gave multiple awards. I mean, at least probably the State of the Union ran 108 minutes, or basically an hour and 47. It was actually like an hour and 47 minutes and some odd seconds, but basically an hour and 48 minutes, which is, by the way, the longest State of the Union address ever. The only thing that the one that was closest to it, which was technically not a State of Address, a State of the Union, was Trump's address last year after his Was it after or before? Whatever. That one was, next in line, although technically it wasn't a State of the Union address. And before that, I want to say it was Clinton at like an hour and 20 something minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, this was a long ass State of the Union. And the crazy part about this is that, usually typically in the State of the Union, nobody listens after like 20 minutes or so. 20, 30 minutes at best, and then ratings and viewership just drops off a cliff. So after that point, like not that many people are watching, unless they're just like straight up sycophants that just loves listening to this man's voice, or someone like me that just loves to hate myself and and listen for you, or stream it and talk about it for you. But it was so long and so long, and he ad-libbed and went off course so many times. It was such a, oh my gosh, it was such a drag ass. But yes, outside of lying, it was, pointing the finger and throwing blame, as I also predicted. He was, I guess, making scathing remarks, criticizing the Democrats over and over and over again for not standing or not applauding, which, whatever. Like, it's not like Republicans haven't done the same thing in the past. You had a couple of outbreaks and pushback from members of the Democratic Party, which was good to see. I mean, I would have liked to have seen more. I stated that last night, but those that did was good. It really was good, and I think to some degree it was even quite effective. For one, you had the first thing that happened was you had Al Green, the Democrat from Texas, who got kicked out last year. I think it was for I think he had a sign or something last year. I can't remember what it was that he had up. And he got kicked out for that. And he did it again this year. And he was doing it in protest of the racist post that Trump put up that showed, it was from some sort of meme that had somewhere at the end of the video. It basically had a picture of the Obamas as apes. And that did not go down very well at all. Even Republicans were like, "Ooh, dude, like, bro, this is a bit much." It was bad. It was bad. I didn't personally cover it, even though I probably should have. And matter of fact, I meant to, but I didn't get around to it because other things started popping up, like the constant news cycle and the constant chaos of things that this administration does. And I'm trying to pick and prioritize what is the most important to talk about, and so it kind of got pushed back, and I never wound up talking about it. But it was a big thing for the president, the fucking president of the United States, to post on True Social, on his little personal biased social site that he loves to post on all kinds of bullshit and lies, posting up a picture of Obama, Barack Obama, and his wife as apes. Like, it was insanely racist. And I mean, if this is the president of the United States, and it was outrageous. So yes, you did have and I do have a video here of this that happened. Which, let me bring this up. Here is the incident. You see, he had a picture that said, "Black people aren't apes." That was his protest sign, and because of that, and I saw, you're going to see here. Just, I think there was multiple moments. One moment I don't think that's on here was the first moment where when Trump was coming in, Green was holding the sign like right at the edge of the aisle, as you see. I mean, he's at this aisle that's right beside him here, right here, and There was an individual that was going with Trump. I don't know if it was a security guy or like a congressman or something like. I don't know who it was exactly, but they like had their hands out and at one point even grabbed the sign and kind of pushed it down, like jerking it down from him, which he had to tug and pull back. This happened multiple times though, and you'll see here. This is another one where this is a senator here, well, congressman. I don't know if he's in the Senate or House, but this is a congressman here that you'll see immediately. He personally goes back and attempts to try to grab the sign from Green, and Green pulls from it, and then eventually he winds up getting ushered out of the event. So let me play this real quick. He tries multiple times, and then here he's getting ushered out. Of course, you see, of course, the Republicans are applauding because they think it's amazing. But as he's going out, you have this guy here that again attempts to grab it and rip it. And he was, he did not succeed. Because later on, there were pictures of Al Green outside, still holding the sign up, nice and proud. So yes, that was an amazing moment, I think, and kudos. This man has. I actually, I admittedly don't know like the entire career of Al Green, admittedly, but his advocacy and pushback on the Trump administration, I have to give kudos to. He's been pretty firm on trying his best to put up impeachment papers before to and push back like in these types of instances here. He does not hold back from Trump and the administration in any way, and rightfully so. I think he's done a pretty good job on that front. This was a really interesting. That was a really interesting part, and that was right close to the beginning. Like it literally happened within the first probably 5-10 minutes of the State of the Union. One thing, Trump was late. The damn thing was an hour and 40 something, and he was like 10 minutes late before. It was like 10 minutes in before he even started speaking. He just stood there for like 3 or 4 minutes as applause was ringing, and he was just standing there like. I mean, it was like, dude, just go ahead and get up to the mic and start talking. For fuck's sakes, we know you're going to take forever anyway. But yeah, that was the beginning of it. Where was other instances, as we'll get to under the Somali, when he started talking about Somali fraud in Minnesota, when talking about immigration, that brought up another situation where him and Ilhan Omar, along with Tlaib, had an interchanging, which was I think from whatever perspective you're looking at, you were going to say, "Fuck yeah, you got your point and you won this." Whether you're Republican, you're thinking Trump did the shit or whatever. If you're a liberal or left leaning, you think, "Oh, Ilhan Omar did it," and you're proud of what she did, and Tlaib pushing back on him because in this, it's in the midst of Trump talking about how dare shame on the Democrats, how dare they allow their state politician or state leadership to prevent ICE and DHS from taking criminals off their streets or whatever. Shame on them, and the talking about how this was after he pointed out and made like this big gesture of standing for if you care about Americans and over illegal immigrants. And you had, of course, pretty much none of the Democrats stood on that. And so, of course, it was this, the whole entire State of the Union was like this drawn out clickbait thing. Just to get views, just to get snaps, and quick little clickbait types of things. It's what it seemed like it was. It was trying to bait the Democrats on multiple things, to make them look bad, to throw up little shorts and shit for their base to get all riled up. Yeah. That's what basically this whole entire State of the Union seemed, in my opinion. In the opinion of many others. But yeah, that was this moment, and in the midst of that, and him saying that, talking about how they're saving American lives and stuff by doing these actions. You had Ilhan Omar saying, literally screaming out at him, "You've killed Americans! You've killed Americans! You've killed Americans!" And it's true. Trump's administration has killed Americans. In these actions that ICE and DHS have taken, Americans have died. And that's something that I don't think that this administration, honestly, when history looks back, will live down. That even though they were trying to go after, quote unquote, the most criminal immigrants or whatever, and get the worst of the worst and blah 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 out, it's ultimately going to fall on the fact that they did actions. Their Gestapo thugs quite literally killed American citizens. Point blank, in the streets of our cities. It is, and I there's something you just can't get around. You can't walk that out. You can't defend that. You can't, throw everything you want to at the wall to try to make that sound better than it does, because it doesn't. There's nothing you can do about that. You must accept. You must accept that you and your administration killed American citizens, along with all the other shit that you've done. But that is some of the most grotesque things that this administration has done, is these actions on immigrants, and the fact that it's already been told over and over again that they have not actually went after the worst of the worst. Over 75% or so of the detainees and people that they have arrested have no criminal record, period. So it's just egregious. So yeah, kudos to Green, kudos to Ilhan Omar, kudos to Tlaib, because Tlaib was backing her up in that. And those who were those other few that may have at some point yelled out. I know somebody at some point yelled at him about being a liar. I think it was come to the war argument when he always stands up and says that he solved so many wars or ended so many wars. Somebody yelled out liar. I don't know who did that exactly, but yeah, there was those moments that were pretty big. And then of course you had moments where like Trump was coming in, he was going out. Where it took forever for him to get in there. It took forever for him to get out, because you had these senators and stuff that were just kissing his ass, wanting pictures and snapshots with him, wanting autographs. Like, this dude is some fucking like super celebrity or something, or like, a fucking god or something. I have one here. This is one moment where this dude here, this is a congressman who has a tie of Trump, like is a Trump-themed tie. It's got his mugshot or something. I don't even know. And he literally gets Trump to fucking sign his tie.
Oh, look at this guy. I like that tie. I want that tie. Give me that tie. Thank you. Put your initial, just an initial. Thank you, boss. I like that tie.
I like that guy. He's such a fucking fanatic that he begs Trump to initial. He said you can just initial his tie. What is this, man? Why do we praise? I don't even care if we're even talking about, like, even if we're talking about any kind of praise that was given to Biden, or any kind of praise that was even given to Obama or Bush, or like, why is such sycophantic notions that you're praising and putting on a pedestal these people when they're either criminals or corrupt, or they're not actually holding up to promises, or what? Like, it's I just find it so it's so stupid. I don't know. But with all that being said, let's get down to kind of policy real quick. You had immigration that was talked about. We're talking about the secure borders, which they make continuously. Of course, he made the lies about there's no illegal immigrants coming across the border anymore. We didn't shut the border down. That's a lie. That's a lie. There are continued. Immigrants have continued to come across the border illegally. Some of them have not been found, and some of them are still at large. Like there is a month you can go to the I think I don't custom enforcement website or whatever. And you got a listed out month by month how many people have encounters at the border, whether it's actual like official crossings or unofficial crossings. They have that all separated out, and you'll see where they have encounters and the people that are at large. People are at large, ones that have actually escaped or got in, and they're still trying to find them. It's just that they're still coming through now. Not at the numbers, admittedly, not anywhere close to the numbers that they were coming at the height of Biden's administration. Again, not because of anything Biden and his administration were doing or not really doing, but nevertheless, even at the end of Biden's administration, though, the numbers had come down because Biden didn't even have open borders to begin with, because he held on to the same policies that Trump had in his administration through over half of Biden's administration. He held on to those exact same rules and policies, so that it wasn't. He never had open borders. It just didn't. It wasn't. It's not a thing. It didn't happen. As a matter of fact, he deported more people than Trump has, even in this administration. He deported more people than Trump did in his first administration. So it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. It's lies. But those numbers were very minimal after Trump took office, and they held fairly minimal for the first 6 months or so. But then the numbers started to trickle up. I know by the end of last year, through August, September, October, the last I think I looked, those numbers were actually just as high. A couple of those months was even higher than the last couple of months of Biden's administration, as far as illegals coming across the border, or the number that had evaded or was into the country and hadn't been found yet. So this is the whole concept of zero coming across the border is just a lie. It's just a lie. Of course, then we've already talked about, he went into the whole fraud thing with immigrants. He attacked immigrants. He used a lot of awards and bringing up instances of violent acts by immigrants. It was like 2 or 3 that he brought up. Of course, one of them specifically, the Irana Zarutska, she had been killed by, quote unquote, by the administration, an immigrant. And I think the mother was there. I think that was the one we're talking about here. And he went into great detail about that one. And been talking about this as an immigrant that came through the border, or came into the United States illegally, and blah, blah, blah. That was actually all a lie. It was not an immigrant. Investigation in, I think it was in North Carolina, is where this incident happened, where it was actually, he was a U.S. citizen. He was a U.S. citizen born in Charlotte. that was known for having mental health issues. So it was not an immigrant whatsoever. So that was just a flat out lie. But there were reports by certain like right wing things that tried to attach it to immigrants, and Trump's just held on to that and went with it like he does a lot of bullshit on the right. He's a part of that dumb sphere, as many others are, and it's just a lie, and he perpetuates it in what is anyways. So yeah, and of course then at some point handing over the fraud thing, which was Elon's thing for a while there, to JD Vance to be the new fraud czar, kind of. So he's going to be looking into fraud, and in the irony of the whole argument around fraud, when Trump himself and his administration is enriching themselves off crypto scams and the crypto market. Fraud. Trump is making billions of dollars enriching himself as president. And the irony that they want to talk about fraud and abuse. I mean, him and his family have enriched themselves like crazy between the first administration and then this one in the crypto market, and then all the policies that they are trying to help him implement as the administration to make that scam and fraud even better for them. It is outrageous. You had foreign policy. He talked about his investments, the 18 trillion investments, which we know is a lie. I mean, even on the the website, White House website, I think now they claim somewhere around 11 trillion. But that's not even those are deals and stuff that have not been put into play in any way, and a lot of that is not actually investment. It's ties into I think stock stuff and other things. Like it's not actually full on investment to any degree. I think it was figured up at one point that the most it might actually invest is around somewhere between maybe a couple, like I think it was around 700 or 800 billion to maybe a trillion. Like it wasn't like anywhere close. And I'm probably that might even be, I might be even remember higher than what it really was. So the whole argument around investment is a lie. And then he talked about the Iranian nuclear program, and how we the administration continuously harps on their bombing of the nuclear sites, and then but at the same time and acting like they have eradicated it, but then now suddenly we might have to attack them again because they're trying to redo their nuclear program. They're trying to make these stuff. I mean, you had arguments from the administration a couple of days ago talking about them producing, all these missiles, and that they were going to have a nuclear, it's all bullshit. He made the claim that, they just haven't made those magic words yet. They haven't said those magic words of no nuclear bomb, which is a lie. It's just a straight up lie. The Iranian regime, and it's the guy, they are a regime, and crooked and evil. I do not disagree on that, but they have stated, and they even as of yesterday, releasing a statement saying that they have no intentions, no matter whatsoever, in any kind of way, will ever have a nuclear bomb or nuclear weapon. So it's just lies. When actually what this administration is trying to force Iran to agree to is no nuclear enrichment, period. Zero, zilch, none, not even for energy or research, period. And which is something that they have an international right to do. Every country, every sovereign country in the world has the right to enrich uranium nuclear research for energy purposes and stuff, for their well-being. That is this. You can't expect any country to agree to not do any at all. Period. That's just stupid. It's not going to happen. It's dead on arrival. There's no agreeing to that. But now, we might have to go back to war with them, and that's all going to revolve around Israel. That's going to revolve around Israel and how much Israel has lobbied and taken control of this government, through lobbying, through money, bribery, and promises from Trump and the administration to allow them to do what they want or to back them in any kind of way they want. And Israel wants regime change in Iran. They want to. There's even reporting that they possibly would want to even drop an actual nuke in Iran, Israel. Even though Israel claims that they don't have nukes, and we know that they do. It's crazy. Of course, he went on to talking about he ended wars, which is a lie. He hasn't ended anything. There's skirmishes and stuff that he claims that he's ended were not really skirmishes, or to what degree that his deals may have paused them temporarily, but then stuff continued to happen. These are not stuff that is over. They're not done. The conflict and issues between these nations and territories are not over. They've been going on for years, and it's over stuff that Trump would not be able to end. It's just we've already had a whole video about that. You can find that somewhere on the page. And of course, he talked about the Iranian protest, where Iran has killed many protesters, thousands of which I think Iran states around 3,000. I think humanitarian agencies and stuff say upwards of 7,000. And that's a part of our involvement in attacking Iran on the humanitarian thing to really get to the hearts of the base. And that's which, don't get me wrong, I completely understand the concern there, and that is something, like I said, the Iranian regime, the caliphate or whatever, they're evil. There's no doubt about it. That you shouldn't do that to your citizens, and that's a problem. But at the same time, I still one that agrees that you should allow for people within the country to handle that. Or if we want to give kind of aid, it needs to be something more strategic and not like warlike, not dropping bombs, not blowing shit up, not trying to do regime change. That should be coming from within. If we want to give them aid and assistance and trying to help them to actually overthrow their government, fine. If that's the case, I mean, to some degree, but I just have a problem with that. We have the economy. Talking about inflation, prices. Inflation so low, went to 1.7 or whatever percent in January. It's like that's a year over year thing. It is lower from year over year, but it's still showing that inflation is on the rise. Prices are on the rise. These numbers are not necessarily good numbers. Inflation was lowering pretty decently through the first half of last year, but towards the end, towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, there has been an uptick in inflation, and prices again are still high. We're not feeling that in a lot of the markets. Food prices are still high across the board, even though, yes, there are some particular stuff that he pointed out that, yeah, you could point to there's the drop in price here, drop in price there, but some stuff he named, no, they are actually higher. He's going off of information that he probably heard months ago when it may have actually been low or had actually lowered, but now that's not the case, and that's the same thing that he always does. Data centers, he talked about that, talking about allowing the data centers to build their own electrical grids or whatever, or their own electrical infrastructures, power plants, which is something that is a major question where and how that would be implemented. And this is to assist in lowering electricity for regular people, because a lot of times whenever there's these data centers, the AI centered data centers, they take a lot of energy, and where they're wanting to build, and there's multiple locations that they're attempting to try to go, it would cost a lot of energy for them to be ran, and it would ultimately, with the companies trying to balance out that energy across the grid, it would cause everybody's electricity to go up. And so the idea here is to allow them to build their own separate plants. So then you're just talking about a whole bunch of separate electrical plants all being built all over the country. And it's already enough that you say because a lot of these places are in rural areas. And you ask the rural communities, what about if you're okay with a data center? They're like, I don't know, like I don't know if I'm okay with that again. But then you turn around and be like, oh, you also, not only just a data center, but we're also going to build another power plant here for them. And you might start again, wait a minute, like what? And how these companies are even going to have that implemented. These are companies that not anything to do with power plants. So it's a whole thing of how that's going to be paid, how that's going to work out, whether they would even to agree to it, and Congress would probably have to be involved. There's a whole lot of stuff there that's in question. Then you have a stock market, which we know stock market is not something that is indicative of the economy for regular people. So whatever there. Job growth. It claims good job growth. We know that that's not the case either. We have had job losses. Talking about manufacturing, he said that they've gained like 5 million manufacturing jobs. That's a lie. There's hundreds of thousands of them that were lost and continue to lose because of the tariffs. Of course, then he bragging on tax cuts and tariffs. Tax cuts for the rich. The tariffs are killing the economy, killing prices across the board for Americans. So we know all that's BS. Next up was Venezuela oil, which he claimed that we bought or sold so many whatever it was billions or thousands, I don't know, whatever the oil amount was, which we know is actually bullshit. They stole that oil. That was oil that was stolen from Venezuela. And not only that, the administration has claimed it was upwards of like 1 billion that they made off of this oil, but Venezuela themselves claim that they haven't received but about 300 million, I think, of that, roughly, or something like that. And then the administration has admitted to some degree around 200, what I saw, something like that, 200 million is being held up in like banks in Qatar. I mean, so it's like, and there's reports that even Trump has some of the rest of it or whatever. I don't know. There's been some weird stuff going around this oil that they claim from Venezuela, the profiting that they made off of it, and where that money is actually sitting, and what is or how it's being used, or if it's or who's in control of it. But yeah, Venezuela is only accounted and claims that they've only received a portion of it. And so there's no telling with that one. And then of course, oil and gas production in the United States. The drill baby drill. Oil. We did produce. I think last year was one of our. Had a record producing year last year. But again, this comes down to the same thing that I talked about before. That I feel that this whole drill baby drill, we're going to drill so much to a point that we're going to be so high in reserves or whatever that's going to fall off a cliff, or we're going to run out of oil to drill because we'll over drill what is actually being produced by the earth. And that's part of the reason why we were targeting Venezuela to try to take over Venezuelan oil. Because, again, the oil that we produce, we can't even actually, or the oil that we extract, we can't technically really produce here. We have to send it, we have to sell it to be produced elsewhere for other countries. We export it. Where most of our actual oil facilities here that do the production of the oil produces more of the dark, thick oil that would come from Venezuela, that we could actually refine here for gasoline and oil products here in the United States. So this is But there are already projections for this year for that. As much as we had our highest rate last year ever, that this year was going to drop off tremendously because, again, it has been reported that we have too much oil. There's too much oil in the whole global market. And so oil prices are down at some of their lowest they've been in decades. And that's because reason why, to some degree, the gas prices are coming down. Because everybody is overproduced and everybody is then now sinking in because we have too much oil in the market and those prices are coming down. So we've overproduced oil in the whole global market, which when you produce more than what's demanded, ultimately the demand is not strong anymore. So you wind up having to lower prices in order to sell it. So that's the reason why partly the gasoline is going to come down little by little. Now, gas prices, though, as he was stating, stating that gas prices are higher than, are lower, the lowest they've ever been. Stating that like most gas prices are below like $2.30 or something like that. That is a flat out lie. Gas average in the country is still at like $2.40 something cents, I think, on average, roughly. He stated that there was a gas station in Iowa that it was like at $1.85. That technically at this point is a lie because there was a gas station apparently in January at some point that was $1.85, but now those prices have went back up. There was still across the entire nation, as far as gas being under $2, there was only at this current moment roughly about 8 stations in the entire nation that have gas under $2. Everybody else is above. Even like here in Mississippi, I know at one point we had about 4 stations that were at like $1.99. But I think those prices have risen back up again. And that was more competition prices because I know one location not too far from me, a couple hours away, but they've had a recent boom in like gas stations being built there, and so there was like this competition thing going between the gas stations that ultimately lowered and had the gas down so low. But I think all that has risen back up here lately. So it's you can't point out just a couple of stations here and there in the country and then make the claims like this is indicative of the whole entire country, because it's just not. Our gas prices, even locally, have pretty much stayed consistent the past few months at anywhere between $2.39 to $2.49. Every now and then it goes up to $2.50 something, but it's pretty much been that fluctuation of about 10 to 15 cents over the past couple of months. And ultimately is not just, there's not been like a steady decrease or anything. So that's just not happening. We had the Congress stock ban, which was an interesting kind of thing that he threw out there. That one, I don't see that being implemented. And that's the thing. These are like suggestion stuff that they're throwing out here. And ultimately, it actually passing through Congress, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't mind it happening because I think there should be a stock ban on it. Because but still, even him again, it's talking about this is ironic in the fact that he is saying Congress should not be able to, a stock ban so that they can't enrich themselves off of insider knowledge, yet he himself is enriching himself off of insider knowledge through his crypto stuff, through deals and stuff he's making with other countries. He is enriching himself by billions of dollars. And yet he is talking about, oh, yeah, we need to push through that Congress ban, so they can't buy stock. Like it's although, again, I agree that they should not. But the hypocrisy and irony of this man actually is making that statement when he is the one enriching himself in the White House is we had the voter fraud talking about the SAVE Act, we know that that's a bunch of BS. We talked through that in other videos. There is no indication of any kind of widespread voter fraud that has been investigated over and over and over and over and over again. The idea around IDs, voter IDs, as I stated last night, in order for you to actually try to pass a voter ID, okay, and enforce an ID specifically for elections, you would have to issue an ID to everyone in the United States free of charge. Because if you tack on some sort of ID requirement that requires people to purchase said ID, that is technically a poll tax, and that is against our Constitution. That is against U.S. law. You cannot have a poll tax. That goes against the idea of free and fair elections. So in order for you to do this, you've got to acknowledge or state that, we will provide you with an ID free of charge for you to bring that proves that you're a U.S. citizen. That's the only way that could possibly pass and be legal. But this SAVE Act does not do that. Not to mention the fact that it's trying to restrict mail-in balloting unnecessarily, and it's not going to pass. It's dead on arrival. It's not going to happen. So it's BS. You had the Warrior dividend. He brought up the Warrior dividend of the 1776, and he made a whole spectacle of that for a little bit there. Funny enough, the Warrior dividend was something that was something that Trump has rebranded. It was actually a housing subsidy that was put into the One Big Beautiful Bill. It's like $2.9 million or something for housing subsidies for military families. And Trump rebranded it as like a dividend, that like he's giving the troops a bonus, and claiming it's coming from the tariffs. Knowing that legally he can't give. That's the reason why we haven't received those 2,000 from. Legally, he couldn't do shit with the tariffs and couldn't send out that money, for one, because he's not the purse. That would have to be Congress that would have to pass that. But further on, it had nothing to do with the tariffs, because the tariffs are still being litigated in courts. So it's had nothing to do with that. So he just took something that was already litigated from Congress as a subsidy for housing for military families, and rebranded it as a dividend, as if he was giving a bonus from tariffs. It's all a fucking lie. It's all a lie. It's bullshit. Healthcare. We had the prescription drug prices. He made his claims about, bringing the drug prices down. There's been no substantive lowering of drug prices yet. His Trump RX is a complete scam. That is a website that's going to have like 40 medications on it. They're all name brand medications. It doesn't give any generic medications. And while some of those, I think around 20-ish, maybe half of them, of those 40, to some degree are lower, and there's a lower price for those name brand items, which are, I think, around fertility mostly, and diabetes and stuff. There's a couple of things like that. There are multiple medications on the website that you can actually get cheaper through other means, through good RX or even your just regular insurance stuff. And not to mention, again, a lot of these medications have generics that are way lower than what the website claims is. So it's all BS. It's all a scam. So that's all bullshit. And then, of course, you got the payments to insurance companies, talking about the big, great healthcare plan that he keeps throwing out, which is never going to happen. It doesn't make any sense. And even so, he claims that it keeps money from going to the big insurance companies. But ultimately, it's going to go to the big insurance companies. It's just going to come through you. Then you have to turn around and purchase private insurance through insurance company, which means they're going to get the money anyways. And then on top of that, they're just going to raise the prices and premiums and everything else because they're not getting the subsidies that the government, instead of actually substantively fixing the health industry and or doing a public option or lifting up and making stronger the public options like Medicaid, Medicare, and all that kind of stuff to be more expansive, put everybody on it, make it a full on, public option, public where everybody has health care. I mean, that would be something substantive that would actually fix and help the healthcare system and actually undercut and do away with insurance companies. Because you wouldn't need them. You wouldn't need them. But no, we can't do that. And then he had the weird transgender youth thing where he had this girl up there who went through some social transition period in her life where she clearly was, I assume, and this is all assumption because I don't know the full story, but she probably has some identification issues with herself personally, questioning or concerning whether she should feel better as a male or a female. And all this story around like the schools forcing it or something, or not telling the parents about it, which I don't understand that argument, because it is under the protection, especially if she was in any way informing the school that she worries about her parents' reaction to that or whatever, then the school does have an obligation or can have an obligation to protect that child to any degree. But just even allowing her to go by a different pronoun or something in school is not indicative or anything of them trying to promote or force her to do anything. It's just them being accepting and inclusive for her feeling that way in that moment in time. She had some personal break where she ran away, wound up in some trouble or whatever, was put into a place, the judge, some kind of thing about the judge, wouldn't even let the parents supposedly pick the child up because they weren't accurately identifying her as a male at that time, which if the parent, I don't know the whole story behind it. Anyway, it was a very weird thing, but it was all to kind of go around this and pander to the base about the transgender thing, and the Democrats are trying to force gender change and gender ideology on our youth. It was fucking weird. It was just a weird thing. I don't even, and stupid at that. I mean, great for her for finding her identity or coming to terms with her identity, if that's what she's done at this point as being a female and remaining a female. Fine, no problem. That's something that could have been worked out in other ways and means, especially if she did have the support of her parents. I don't know to what degree she did or didn't. I'm not saying I'm just saying it was just a weird thing to talk about and weird thing to bring up, and doesn't identify any kind of issues around transgender, the transgender conversation at all. So it was just weird. But it's just, again, just pandering to the base around this idea that they have in their heads that Democrats are out there trying to force our youth to be who they're not or something. And it's just bullshit. It's just lies. Crime, murder rates. They talk about murder rates are down at their lowest, whatever. Murder rates have been dropping ever since COVID. This is something, I don't know if it's something in the psyche of, and it's more like because death rates haven't necessarily dropped, I don't think, but it's more flipped from murder to suicide. Like there's more suicide cases now than murder cases. I think I did a video of this months ago or whatever, where the murder rates were already decreasing through Biden's administration, and they just continue to drop through Trump. Nothing to do with the administration or anything that they have done to try to quell that. It has nothing to do with ICE or DHS or this military being placed in any of these cities and making them safer. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just bullshit. But yeah, that was pretty much it in a nutshell. He didn't talk about. The one thing that was an issue for me, again, and I talked about this last night, was the fact that he was so, around the immigration part, he was so like driven to try to make immigrants, brown people, black, or whatever, any minority, to look so horrifying, so violent. They cause all the violence, they cause all the problems in the country. It's the reason why the stories about those that have lost their lives and stuff was revolved around immigrants, or I think one of them was even about a black guy that this was all in a way to make those brown people look like the bad people. He didn't talk about any of, like I said last night, any right-wing actual domestic terrorism that has happened or anything in the nation where by white people, which is something that is the highest rate when it comes to any kind of like terrorist-like idea, which the immigrants, that's that the idea behind that is that is terrorism. But it didn't talk about any of that. It talked about the Congress people, whatever, the husband and wife, whatever, that was shot, or any of these. He didn't talk about any of these kinds of things. Why? Because they're white people that's doing it. White conservatives that are doing it. They don't talk about any of that. He didn't talk about any of that. Didn't talk about Renee Good. Didn't talk about the other guy's name's completely spacing from me. I feel so bad now. But the two people that died from ICE. Didn't talk about any of them. Didn't talk about the Epstein files. That didn't come out at all. Or the survivors. He didn't point out the survivors that were there at the that were present for this State of the Union, that were brought in by representatives like Hassan, I think, brought one in himself as a guest. He didn't talk about any of that. He talked about all this supposed fraud, like the Somali fraud he wants to bring up, but yet he doesn't talk about the fact that he himself has pardoned multiple high-profile fraudsters during this administration. I think somewhere around 10 or 12 of them or so that he has pardoned. Criminal charges, and he pardoned them on fraud. Didn't talk about that. Didn't talk about the fact that just yesterday, the NPR reported that the Justice Department, it was found in an investigation, I think, by, and I'm going to try to do a separate thing on this. I can't remember, what was it saying? The Oversight Committee, Democrat Oversight Committee, and somebody else, stating that the Justice Department withheld and removed Epstein files that were related to Trump, right here. And we're going to do a separate video on this. Upwards of 50 pages that they have completely just disappeared and removed and didn't release, that talked about the allegations between Trump and a sexual abuse of a minor. We didn't talk about anything like that. No. We don't talk about any of that. And it comes. We have a State of the Union presented where this guy is lying, falsely accusing, projecting criminal, illegal, fraudulent acts that he and his administration have done onto others. And again, what has constantly frustrated me here lately is that he just gets away with it. He just gets to do it. with minimal pushback. And don't get me wrong, again, I applaud those at the State of the Union who pushed back as they did. I just wish there was more of it. I wish they would have not stopped. I wish they would have done it so much that they were removed. Like, because he needed that pushback. And you could tell that there were the times that he did get pushed back on, he got frustrated. But it wasn't quite enough, in my opinion. Just wasn't quite enough. But I have a video here from Hassan, funny enough. It may not have been Hassan. I may have gotten that wrong. I think it was, I can't remember the other guy's name. I am so bad with names, y'all. I am not even lying. But anyway, this is from Hassan, though. Basically 2 minutes of the summed up. The State of the Union summed up in 2 minutes. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. All right. Let's back up.
A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning.
This was one of the parts that I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? This is the President of the United States, and he's doing this like mockery, whining shit for the State of the, like, it's so childish. It's so, I'm like, I don't even like, it was so, it's so ridiculous.
Too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in. And in 1 year, we have lifted 2.4 million Americans.
As you see here, and I made that call. You mean you remove them? The terminology that they use there, we lifted them up as if we made things so good for them they no longer needed it. They are now, good Americans that don't need our assistance anymore because we've lifted them up. We've made things so much better for them. They have so much money now. They don't need assistance anymore. And it shows here CBO estimates that about 2.4 million people in total will be cut from SNAP under the provisions in a typical month that they made under the One Big Beautiful Bill and other stuff that they have implemented, including 800,000 adults aged 55 to 64. That wasn't even highlighted, but that's an interesting thing to throw there too.
Record off of food stamps. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Mm-hmm. And you see there, they're pointing at him like you were the one that's benefiting.
Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday.
That part right there was excruciatingly like, are you kidding me? This dude takes every moment he can when it comes to any reward. Like, he's so butthurt. Again, I said this last night. He's so butthurt that he has not received some sort of reward, substantial reward, like genuinely received it, not one that was made up and created as a fake award to make him feel good, or one that was given to him gifted to him by somebody else that received the reward. Now, he's so butthurt that anytime it comes up, it's about a reward. And that's something I predicted. I thought he was going to talk about the Nobel Peace Prize, but I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember him ever mentioning it. I was surprised, but this was sort of him in some Weasley way actually mentioning to some degree, or at least when it comes to another war, like, I wanted to give it to myself. I thought it would be great to get it. I've done so amazing. I don't even know why I would give it to myself, but I wanted to give it to myself. But they told me I had to give it to somebody else. They told me I couldn't do that. Like, it's so fucking, oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, all right. But I wanted to leave this one goes down as the post of the day. Yeah, but this is Gary Kasparov, whatever. Activist, Renewed Democracy. So he posted this: most accurate response to Trump's State of the Union in only 7 seconds. Here we go.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
Again.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
And that is true. Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you. So yeah, I mean that was pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of this. And this went longer than I thought, but that's the reason why I kind of did the quick little fun summary at first, but then went and broke down the actual different things in the second half of this video. So that, if you didn't want to stick around for all the breakdown, fine, you got my point out ahead of time, and the fun stuff. But let me know what you think. And until next time, ClearTalk, peace, I'm out.